If you couldn't already guess by the content I make here and on my other channel, aside from mythology, I am a big fan of superheroes, video games, anime, pro wrestling, the typical nerd soup that encompasses the zeitgeist. And baseline, in our mythology, there are plenty of characters that have superhuman or supernatural strength, and this dates back to some of our earliest tales. And while these powerhouse characters mean a lot to me, raw power tends to obscure some of the more unique characters in our rich tapestry of legend and mythology. So in this video, I intend to grab a few and showcase them. So, let's begin, shall we? Flight, a common power amongst the winged and the non in our mythology, but for this video, I'm going to choose the Boreads. These two, Zetus and Calais, are born of the north wind Boreas and blessed with flight. And while the tellings of where their wings sprout differ with time, Ovid explaining on their back and other sources telling their wings sprouting from their ankles, regardless of placement, the pair are known for their beauty and their ability to move as fast as the north wind. In their most famous myth, whilst being Argonauts being the only voyagers who could chase off the Harpies harrowing the old king Phineus. Their flight proved fast enough to chase the bird-like creatures away, readying to hunt them down. That was when Iris, the goddess of the rainbow, and a messenger of the gods intervened to turn them away, and promised that she would shield the king from the Harpies. Taking the goddess's words, they agreed and turned away, flying back, and thus Phineus was saved, and the Boreads, with their flight, rejoined the journey of the Argo. Next, we have the solar boon. Well, over many mythologies and legends across the world, there are heroes linked to the sun or its light. My personal favorite is the set of powers that are bestowed upon Sir Gawain of the Knights of the Round Table. While the solar boon comes in many forms, Gawain's comes from a blessing on the day of his baptism, and it is among the more common of these solar boons throughout our rich tapestry. As the sun reaches noon, his power would increase. This increase, depending on the author, could be 2 times, 3, or an unquantifiable amount, sometimes allowing him to match the best of the knights at the time, like Lancelot, while in other incarnations becoming something that not even Lancelot could stand against with ease. More interestingly, though, unlike some whose power is connected to the sun, take fellow knight in Arthurian mythos Escanor the Large, whose power also waxed and waned with the sun. Gawain's power was only a part of his story, a story of finding oneself, honor, dignity, and self-improvement, eventually being among the most noble of Arthur's noblest knights. Something that, even though later writers painted him as a villain of sorts for, after the fall of Camelot, has shown through in his more modern incarnations, sometimes more often portrayed than his solar boon. And lastly, for today, we have shape-changing, a power that tends to be set amongst the gods, more so than the mortal heroes and villains of the world, but something personified by none other than the great sage equal to heaven himself, Sun Wukong. Early on his journey for immortality, Sun Wukong found his way to the monastery of the Taoist sage, Bodhi. Wishing to find a place in the world in the cycle of self-cultivation, he began his time there. Tricky as he was, the monkey was also quick to pick up on things that more experienced monks would have struggled with, eventually reaching a point where Bodhi felt comfortable teaching him either the art of the heavenly ladle or the art of the earthly magnitude. One benefited with 36 earthly transformations, and the other 72. Always the overachieving type, and with the impulse control of a monkey, Wukong chose the art of the earthly magnitude. And thus, being taught the oral components and symbols, he quickly mastered the technique. Something that would be quite useful in his journey to the west. Though before that, as he engaged with the armies of heaven, Erlen Shen, their greatest soldier, came and met Wukong, and they were an even match. He and Erlen chased one another through the mountains, assuming many differing forms, from sparrows to cormorants to hawks in all shapes, eventually leading to Wukong having to be subdued by the Buddha himself. And as years pass, he is freed and the journey to the west commences, and Wukong has to use his earthly transformations not for his own personal gain, but to free the scripture pilgrim. And thus, be it the form of a gnat, or a shrimp, or a crab, Wukong changed shape and made way out of many a prison, a cage, a gourd, all with the intent on fulfilling the journey to the west. Though truly, the transformation of his physicality is not what really makes the Monkey King so special. You see, with these powers, he was still lacking, still wanting more. Yet, over the course of the journey, it was his soul that transformed, eventually leading to his rising as the miraculous fighting Buddha by the end, as he realized earthly forms and transformations are fleeting, but true enlightenment never does. And those are a few of the lesser appreciated powers from mythology, and I thought they deserved a bit more spotlight. Until next time, stay safe and thanks for watching.